Hey, everybody. Welcome to Big Blend Radio with Nancy and Lisa. You just heard Vertigo on the Heights of Desire, and that's a second track by the new album. It is called Screaming into the Void. It's by Blues-Guitarist-Brandon-Teskey, and it is out now. You can get it on iTunes,
Awesome.
and I highly suggest you do it and go on a road trip with it, and that's what we're about to do, and we're super stoked about it. It came out in fall of 2021. And excited to have Brandon back on the show. We first met him with his Phoenix, Arizona-based band called Until the Sun. they were on with their second album, Drowning in Blue. And so obviously a lot is going on, and apparently the band is getting ready to do a new album, but so lots happening. You guys aren't stopping, right?
Yeah, no, we keep moving forward with it. So yeah, we have a live album we're doing, and that's probably will be out sometime in late spring. So we're doing live videos too on that we could release on YouTube, and a bunch of all the songs are new material except for one. So
oh wow, cool. We're excited about that. And it's cool because you also brought in some of the band members into this. You know, Lissa was singing, I should say, and you've got some of your friends in there. So this is a solo album, but it's got your buddies in there.
Yeah, it's a little bit different because it's more instrumental based than the Until the Sun music. I mean, there's like 4 songs on there with singing, but it's there's a little bit more jazz fusion influence on some of the songs. Some of them, it's really just an amalgamation of everything I do. So it's got some blues on there, it's got some rock on there. It's got some fusion on there. So,
I think that's what I really love about it. Is like you can hear that you've got the roots of blues and rock, and it's beautiful because you keep simplicity there, even though there's some just mad crazy jams in there. I'm like, holy crap. But you still manage to have this simplicity and flow to it. That's true guitarmanship, I think, and songwriting skills. Yeah,
and I wanted it to kind of flow as a complete work as well. So I wanted, like, the songs were really well thought out as far as what leads into what, and I just wanted to have it flow as an album too. So
when this airs, go ahead, Nancy.
I was going to say, it takes me outdoors. Somehow it makes me go naturefied and outdoors, and I see eagles soaring and little bunnies running, and the eagles, I'm going to find you. There's all
vultures are coming on some of the songs.
I know.
They're going to get their vengeance.
It's totally outdoors to me. I don't know why. Do you feel that when you're writing?
Some of it. I mean, some of it, I definitely feel like it's got that kind of vibe to it. Like you said, like a road album. But it's I definitely get textures, like kind of visual textures when you listen to it or listen back to it or play through it. So.
It's interesting because I know you're still in Arizona, right? In Phoenix area, Greater Phoenix. And it's like you think about the blues and everyone's automatically Mississippi, Louisiana, Alabama, and it's like, this is in Chicago. Obviously we can't leave out Chicago. Holy crap, right. Someone's going to come down and smack me over the head. But
what you think.
Right, but I mean, Arizona, I think Arizona is growing in its music scene.
It is. I will say though, I think we have better response in when we do shows in like California or out of state. I think we tend to do better than Phoenix. They seem more receptive to that kind of blues rock than here. I think there's still a pretty big hard rock scene and metal scene in the local area. So but we do have some cool blues venues still, and the album that we just recorded at was the Rhythm Room. I think that's one of like the last old school blues venues in the country.
Wow.
So yeah,
it's hard. Nice. It's hard. The blues we can't lose the blues, and I don't think we ever will. Can't. It's part of our fabric, and some people got it and some people don't. But it's interesting traveling and hearing blues, and what's going on radio stations. I think we've probably all talked about this before, but we travel, you hear the same playlist from one county, and all of a sudden it repeats itself, and you're like, shut up. We want to hear the new stuff, but like when you do get to Louisiana, Mississippi, in Alabama, it does go to the roots of what they are. And what's great about your album is I think it's really connected with that. Like when you drive through Mississippi, you're going to hear all versions of the blues. You're going to hear R&B, you're going to hear soul, jazz, funk, all of it, because I think it's all connected. All of those genres.
Well, that's the thing about blues.
Psychedelic too, man. Don't leave the psychedelics out.
Yeah, right.
There is. Yeah,
but blues really is. It's ingrained in everything that is American music, really. So that's kind of the pillar and the cornerstone. And even if for people who aren't blues fans, probably the music they like is influenced by blues in some way or another. So
yeah, I mean, jazz is so completely related to blues. It's for me, it's hard to separate.
yeah,
I mean, if you like jazz, then you're gonna like blues.
yeah, or rock,
Yeah,
roll, all the classic rock,
yeah.
especially the early rock, like the Chuck Berry stuff, and I mean
Hmm.
that stuff isn't that different than just regular straight ahead blues. So
Right.
Exactly. I think it all comes from there. And it was interesting seeing Autumn Leaves on your album
Mm.
and hearing
yeah,
it. And, I was like, what? You got Autumn Leaves on there? And way back when, and before our magazine days, Nancy and I taught organ playing, musical organs, before
yeah,
people
Mhm.
give me weird things. And we used to teach,
Okay.
retirees how to play out in Florida when we first got back to this country. And
Mm.
Autumn Leaves was one of those songs. I always thought that is one of the most beautiful songs.
Oh
I
yeah.
never thought like it would end up on a blues album, but as soon as you
Mhm.
started playing it, I was like, oh my God, this is going like Gary Moore style. And
yeah,
I just like almost like some of this stuff is Rory Gallagher's hanging in there a little bit. And I'm just like, holy crap. But as soon as you started playing that, I was like, oh yeah, this is
Mhm.
a classic blues
yeah.
wail.
I definitely didn't have a jazz take on it. It was definitely
Mm.
more kind of turned it into like a folk bluesy version of
Mhm.
it. Um, and even my lead work, it's not very jazzy. I'm playing over the changes, but it's
Mhm.
definitely more in the vein of blues stylistically. So, and Alyssa just knocked it out of the park singing it.
Oh
Mm.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think he did that in like 1 or 2 takes too.
Wow.
So
Wow.
Spider's
Mm.
Web to me was really interesting because it was like it's haunting, but it's I don't want to say antagonistic, but it's like it almost sounded like you were like two guitars were taunting each other in a way. And I didn't, yeah, and I could hear
But
it,
that's what spiders do. They
but there's
build the
different,
web and they go, come
yeah.
on in, come on, they dare
Yeah,
you.
and
yeah,
it kept taking you deeper and deeper, like where it started as a song. This was like it's taking you in, it's taking you in. You're gonna get bitten, you know.
Hmm.
That
But
was
you
a
still
crazy
go in.
song. Yeah,
yeah.
where do you get all this from?
A lot of times it's just playing, and sometimes I'll pick up a guitar and a song will fall out. And
Wow.
yeah, sometimes I'm just writing based off what I'm feeling at the time. I think that's probably a song that I probably initially put together some time back, and it probably was initially meant to be one of like the Until the Sun songs,
Mhm.
but we ended up kind of not using it, and it always stuck in the back of my mind, and I always wanted to kind of do a different version of what was initially intended, and so I ended up kind of reviving it for this
Mm.
solo album.
Now we
So,
played Vertigo. Tell us a little bit about that
mm,
song, where that came
mm,
from. Because Nancy, it's amazing how we both
mm,
connected with that
yeah,
immediately. Like
right away.
and there's Tree of Life, and then
Mm,
anyway, there's just it's a good album.
mm,
It's a
Yeah,
really good.
so that song, it's really kind of a cross between like a blues and a
mm,
jazzy kind of fusion
Mhm.
song. There are kind of changes in there. So really, musically when I put this together, I was really trying to play beyond my ability. I tried to write songs that were really harder than I was ever used to playing, and
Uh,
force myself to rise to the
mm.
occasion and like make myself better in order where I could hold my own on it. So I really, a lot of these songs, especially in the jazz fusion vein, it was when I initially wrote it, it was really kind of at the limit of my ability, and I had to force myself to be better and get
oh
better
wow,
and
Cool.
practice harder. So
No, it's
wow. So
cool.
you're
That's
pushing
cool.
yourself to what you're hearing in your head and
yeah,
writing
Mm,
yeah.
down.
Well, that
awesome.
and just the technical aspect of it too. I mean, there's I think a difference between like someone who could play blues songs and then playing over changes might take it to a level that they're uncomfortable with.
Mm,
So I really kind of tried to come up with progressions that I thought were beautiful, but also challenging, and kind
mm.
of forced myself to be better than than I was before starting it. So
what does that entail for you? Like, is that like you're locking yourself in the bathroom with the guitar for 10 hours? Like when you're doing that, like what's it? Yeah, I mean,
sometimes when I was really like getting ready to go into the studio and lay it down, like I mean, yeah, I'd be practicing like 4 to 6 hours a day sometimes.
Wow. That's a lot.
Yeah, just kind of staying at it. And then, yeah. And then a lot of times, I mean, the thing is, I never went in with planned out solos. I tried, I improvised pretty much every solo on there, every lead line on there. It was just kind of spontaneous, but I wanted to get good enough playing over those songs and playing over those changes where I could just lay it down and have it be spontaneous, but still pull it off.
So what happens in your mind when you're doing that? Like, do you see musical notes, like writing music, or is it totally in your ears?
It's more like I hear it in my head. So it's not really, I don't see like notes like, hey, I want to go to the
she's tripping out, dude. She just listened to the album again.
Yeah, and then
I know, I'm tripping out.
Yeah, no, it's more I just kind of hear it, and I know my instrument well enough where I know where those notes are, and
so then when you're
there is an intellectual aspect of playing over the changes, because sometimes for the more jazzy fusion songs, you can't just stay in one key. You have to change keys, or else it's gonna sound terrible. So
no, that's true.
You have to keep, that's the thing with that kind of music.
But that's
you
what
have
makes
to,
that's what makes it so, to me, nature, because when you go outside, if you really look, you have to look in more than one place. You need to look up, you need to look down, sideways, and all around. There's more than one thing going on, and everybody goes with a rhythm to nature. But if you really look at it, there's several rhythms.
Yeah.
And they're all different going on at the same time.
Yeah.
Harmony.
Yeah. Yep. And so I don't know, your music to me like an eagle soaring and watching all this going, I think I just want to go to bed now. It's too complicated.
Yeah.
But it's I think that's the thing. How and getting in recording this, when you think about like there's those notes that glide over, and then that's where you have this amazing flow to it. And I always listen for that. To me, you shouldn't have to listen for it. You should just feel that flow. And you have that in this album where there's things going on. And every time you listen to the album, you're going to hear something different, which I love that. So putting this album together, did you
natural?
Did you write it? Did you like say, okay, we're going to do all these changes, then be spontaneous, like you were saying, inside the studio? Did you have people doing different parts? I mean, it's a lot of work you put into this from what, you know.
A lot of it, I kind of had preconceived notions about what I wanted to do, or at least a foundation. And a lot of times, I think I just didn't give any direction at all. Like for the keyboard player, Will, he played on this. He's out of Chicago, and I just sent him the songs. I'm like, I think these could use keyboards, or I think maybe piano on this one, organ on this one, some bluesy keys on this one, some atmospheric stuff. And I left it vague, and I just trusted that they were good enough musicians where, I think there's a lot of times where we get in our own way, and he knows how to play keyboards better than I know how to play keyboards, which is not at all. So I just let him have it. And if he comes back to me with anything that was at all like I originally had intended, or in most cases it was way better than what I had intended, I just thought, that's the way to do it.
That's awesome though.
Yeah,
I think that's awesome to leave it open.
Yeah.
You know, to have that open. That's I think that's part of what creates a flow in music. It's like why I love live albums too. Yeah. Because there's a jam and there's an energy to it, and jazz is like the epitome of a jam session, right? It has that, but how are we going to, and we're going to stay in there, and here goes the circle, and how we're going to come back, you know, it's circular. And that's a beauty of it all, you know, with what you're doing. Are you going to make any videos? Nancy wants to make videos to your music.
I know.
I thought about it. I didn't, I mean, I was considering it. I'm still not sure. just because we're going right into another Until the Sun
Yeah.
live album, and that's kind of occupying my focus right now. But yeah, if I wouldn't mind doing a video for some of these songs.
Yeah.
Well, can I make one? Just it's gonna just all be nature, flowers, animals,
Or road
birds.
trips. It's gonna be
Okay.
road
Right.
trip and swampy.
Pro-
I mean,
Is
or-
that all right with you?
sure. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That'd be
Thank you.
fine.
Awesome.
we might have to
Yeah.
get swampy though. I mean, we're taking this
Yeah,
to
we're gonna
Louisiana.
go
This
gator.
is airing.
You know
on
the
the day-
gator's gonna go in there, Lisa.
Yeah, this is airing while we're in Natchitoches,
Mhm.
Louisiana. You know, it's
Okay.
kind of a detour. Well, we love Natchitoches. We'll go there. I
Mm.
mean, just say Natchitoches and we'll jump and run. It's old school. It's the oldest city in the state of Louisiana. And so it's like
Mhm.
we went a couple years ago. This was pre-COVID, and they had their 40th
Mm.
annual folk music festival. It's held at the university and put on by the university. And you're seeing like entire family bands of old school
Mhm.
Cajun and Creole,
That's
you know,
so
just
cool.
Zydeco, but the whole family. And you're seeing, you know, a 90-year-old guy like just still howling. I mean, and when I say howl, I mean freaking howling.
That
There-
was Thibodeau.
This is, yeah,
He
you know,
was so good.
don't even.
It's an interesting
Oh.
place. My wife and I drove through there a few years back, and yeah, it's definitely a interesting.
It's
state.
cool.
It's awesome, yeah.
Yeah.
For
it's
you,
just
where did the
cool.
blues thing for you come from? I mean, I know you're, you know, born and raised in Southern California, right? And then,
Yeah.
you know,
Mm.
well, LA had some really good blues stuff going on, and then it
Yeah,
kind of shifted.
Yeah, we had good blues guys coming through on tour frequently. So I think for me, I mean, I got into playing guitar young. I was probably like 11 years old when I started playing, but immediately like, okay, you want to be good at guitar, who do you pick up? And like the names that pop into immediately are like, okay, well, Led Zeppelin and Eric
Stevie
Clapton,
Ray
Jimi Hendrix.
Vaughan.
Yeah, well, and then that leads into people like Stevie Ray Vaughan, and
Yeah.
that leads into you go further down that rabbit hole, and then you're at Albert King and BB King and Freddie King.
Albert.
Yeah, and then into Robert Johnson and
Yeah.
Muddy Waters and Howling Wolf, and then I went way down the rabbit hole, and
Yeah.
it came out really. So
It's pure
It's
though.
interesting.
You know,
Yeah.
blues is pure.
Mm.
It
Yeah.
is what it is, and there's like, I think there's an integrity to it, and it can get downright dirty, raunchy, but there's an integrity to it. It's like there's no half-assing in it.
Well,
Yeah.
You know,
it comes from your guts, like classical music. I've been through classical music lessons and stuff, and I get it. I like classical music, but it's almost as if they were like, leave your personal feelings aside
yeah,
and play the notes and
Yeah, it's
play
more-
them perfectly every time. And
yeah, it's a different side of your brain, really. It's it's memorization opposed to playing,
yeah,
improvising, making it up as you go and feeling it.
yeah.
well, you studied music, right? When
Yeah, I did for 1 year at ASU, and then
Mhm.
I mean, I'm still studying music. I'm not like I think I'm not the most theory the biggest
Mm.
theory guy out there, but I try to kind of know what I need to know and keep going
Right.
and keep
Yeah.
learning. So
yeah,
yeah.
do you think it like some of the training can actually ruin pure talent, like raw grit?
I think what I
Mm.
tend to see is that it kills the inspiration, and it becomes like a chore or a job, or it's just
Mhm.
academic. I got to a point like quickly after my first year of college where I'm like, I need to study something else, or I'm not going to be playing anymore when I'm done. And then I
Yeah.
had friends who got their music degree and quit, and they don't touch their
Oh.
instrument
Well,
at all.
because the
Um,
teachers tend to do it my way or the highway. Like
Mm.
I used to teach art, and I would give it an example, and then say, "Do not copy me. Go
Yeah.
do your own. Go
Yeah,
do your own thing." And then they would sit there for 20 minutes before they ever did anything,
yeah,
as opposed to just copying it. And I think that in music, because it's written down half the time or most of the time, and you're supposed to play it exactly this way, and there's a beat that you have to follow in order to make it rhythmic and gel with everybody else, that you can get pushed into something that isn't really what you want to do.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's just like, sometimes you just say, I take away paintbrushes and say, use your fingers, man, go for it.
Yeah. And I mean, it's like teaching someone how to fish rather than, or instead of catching a fish for them, or
I know
teaching someone how to think rather than teaching them what to think. So
exactly.
Yeah.
It seems to be the arts always have this problem.
Yeah.
And it's like, because it's creative, and I think you have, there's theory, and you can pick and choose theory as you want to, as you go on your journey. That's just kind of how I look at it. It's always changing, and you get into it.
And how can a teacher know what's in somebody else's brain, really?
Yeah.
So are you letting it fly, or are you curtailing?
Yeah.
So you're supposed to, it's difficult.
Yeah. And I always want to continue to grow and learn, and I'm still learning theory and studying and learning new stuff. And part of the reason I played some of these jazzier fusion songs was to kind of make myself develop and grow further. So Autumn Leaves, that was actually the first jazz song I really learned, and it's my grandmother's favorite song of all time. And she's so I wanted to throw that on the album, even though I didn't do it in like a traditional jazz way.
No, but I mean, it used to be the piano doing the whole, all of that,
Roger Williams.
So
Roger
it's
Williams?
crazy when to
Roger
hear that.
Williams.
But I just was like, wow, this is really one of those songs. We used to play Moonglow in our band, Moonglow, of all songs. I loved it, but like
you did such a bad job, though.
We needed a guitar player like you, but there's because you had a lot of jazz in what you're doing with this album, where some of the songs have like that shortcut boom, you know what I mean, that shortcut it's like not a staccato, but it's like it's
syncopation.
It's the like the strumming jazz in there.
Who could
you have a little bit in there, but it was it really, to me, when you did Autumn Leaves, I was like, that is amazing. I love Equinox, what you did with that too. Like that was, I think I'd be so scared to do that.
Yeah. I like Miles Davis's kind of blue album, and I love Coltrane as well. So that was a song where like, this is kind of a jazz version of a blues song, but it gives you the liberty to get real jazzy with it too. So it was a song I wanted to do. So
okay,
that's
so
awesome.
where's the song I wanted to really get into was it Hypnagogia?
Hypnagogia. Yeah.
Hypnagogia.
Okay.
Let me get it, the pronunciation. I'm sorry. Tell me about this.
This
is badass. You got everything in there, and then you got that. I want to play that so bad. But then we got Tree of Life. Dude. I love the album. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
But hypnagogia, awesome. That's my new word of the day. Hypnagogia.
Yeah, it's the state of when you start dreaming, but you're still barely awake. So that's you get tired enough when you begin dreaming right before you actually fall asleep. And
so are you telling yourself what to dream?
I do that.
No, but are you telling yourself what to dream? Like you're setting yourself up, I want to dream this?
Well, I don't have that ability, but I wish I did. So
hypnagogia, that's my new word. It is. I love that. I do that where you start to dream, and that's the daydream too. Like in school, that's why I got in trouble.
Yeah, or lucid dreaming. God.
Like the daydreamer in the back. Like I'm bored. Let me out. So tell us about that song. Like, okay, so that's what that means. Okay, so the dreaming part, but how, like, to put all that in there and still have it flow and do that, that is a badass song.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that was open tuning song in drop D or drop D flat, really. And then I just kind of broke out the slide guitar on that one, and
That's awesome.
yeah,
I was listening to this. I'm like, this is funky good. And then all of a sudden, here comes the slide. I was like, yes, he's got it in there. Because I remember it, Until the Sun, one of the songs in there, you had some slide. I'm like, we got to play that. We have to. I'm a sucker for it. I can't help it. But the slide, because there's a primal sound to slide.
yeah.
And I think it kind of connects humans with wind energy and fire and everything. It's like it is the sound. It's primal
because it's nature.
Well, I think also the slide, it has the kind of ability to mimic almost a baby's cry, and and there's almost something that might be primal when we hear that, where we kind of pay attention and our ears kind of gravitate towards that. So
yeah. It's like,
it kind of really mimics the bending of like a human voice in certain ways.
Well,
it's limitless.
Like when wolves howl, if you really listen, they don't start out full blast. There's a workup to it, and then it goes full blast, and then they temper down.
Yeah.
So it's like that. If you really listen closely, and it's so awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So when you're writing this, are you writing this like when you're writing the music, like hypnagogia, I'll get it right. But when you do you write it down like, okay, now I'm going to break the slide and I'm going to do this, or are you writing the notes, or are you just recording the sound?
So I do it differently on different songs. So a lot of times I'll come up with like a title first and kind of base the feeling and the music around the title, and then if there's lyrics to it, I'll kind of base that around that as well. So a lot of times the subject matter in mind will kind of I'll base the title off that, and then the music will kind of fit that, and then the lyrics will fit that if it's a song with lyrics.
Okay, so when you talk about the title, what's up with Dance of the Fiddler's Bitch? Because it is bitchy. It is bitchy.
It's a weird, that's a weird song. That's probably the most fusion song on the. And I just, when I came up with the music, I just like, I mean, back in the day, they had the expression "drunk as a fiddler's bitch," and the reason, because back in the taverns, way back in the day, the band and his woman would drink for free. So that's where the expression came around, "drunk as a fiddler's bitch." And when I played that music, I just got the image in my head of like some drunken barmaid double fisting
bar wench,
double fisting bottles of whiskey. So
that's one of our friends, Johnny Master and the Mamas. Johnny Master and the Mama's Boys. Check them out. I think I would love to see you jam with them. Actually,
okay.
I think. Oh God, yes. They have a song. She's on the whiskey now.
Was it?
It's about a woman that got drunk on whiskey at one of their gigs, and he was like, she was really nice and sweet, and then she just went, this squat dance where people start getting really crazy at the end of the night, and
women
he went to the guy and said, is everything okay with your wife? He goes, oh yeah, she's on the whiskey now. And that turned into a whole song. It's just kind of similar.
That's I would funny.
Dig to see you play with them, like jam out. Who would you like to jam with that you've never been able to perform with, alive or dead? Like in an ultimate place, ultimate venue too, that you've never been to.
Jimi Hendrix at the Royal Albert Hall.
Oh yeah.
Well, shit.
Yeah.
Why
not? Now living, I think it'd be cool to jam with Clapton or I mean, Buddy Guy is someone I'd really like to. When I was a little kid, when I was like probably 12 years old, I just probably started playing guitar. I went to see Buddy Guy at the Coach House in California, and he did that thing. He had like a 200-foot, 300-foot, or 500-foot cable or something, and was walking through the whole audience. And basically, like I was like crawling under people's legs to try to get closer, and I ended up kind of cornered in the bar area and then he's just on the other side. And he came up to me and he like grabbed my finger, is like, play it, and he like was using my thumb as a pick while he kind of played guitar. And so, I got his autograph, but I never actually got to meet him. But I think it'd be fun to play with him.
Oh my God, he's one of my ultimate favorites because he's got this big smile. He knows how to work like you were saying, the audience, right?
Yeah.
but like, of course, he's
But
got,
he's
he's got to have,
nice.
he's got style, but
Mhm.
he's got this guitar playing that just is like, it's singing.
I think,
He's a vocal guitarist, you know?
yeah, well, I think his voice is, I mean, it's
Ooh,
Mm.
so amazing. Like
Yeah.
he has a haunting voice. I almost like his voice more than his playing, but I think
Mhm.
he really is the guy that a lot of the guys in the 60s really kind of stole from.
Mhm.
I think at their own admission, like Jimi Hendrix and Clapton and those guys
Mm.
were, I think, heavily borrowing from Buddy Guy, because Buddy Guy never really plays in time. He just kind of floats.
No, I was just going to say he holds on to things
mhm.
and always lets go of a note just a hair late.
Yeah,
Sweet Tea. Listen to Sweet
Yeah.
Tea, like that
yeah,
album. Like he just starts howling right from the beginning, and it's like
yeah. I love that
he
album.
lets. That is like every time I hear it, and I don't think people play that album. I don't think our radio stations are doing as
Ugh,
anything
not
that they should
mainstream
be doing
radio.
for this kind of music. Like
Yeah,
honestly, I get on a rant about it, like
I think that's
crazy.
yeah, that's probably one of my favorite albums by him, especially out of
Really,
his
yeah.
newer albums. And I love his first album, the I left my blues in San Francisco. That's a great album.
It just has that.
There's so
Ooh.
much on that album that I think impacted the blues rock guys going forward.
I would
So
love
yeah,
to
and
see.
Muddy Waters, of course, right? You got to think
I
of
mean,
him.
yeah, Buddy
But
Guy started out playing guitar with Muddy Waters. So
yeah,
I would
yeah.
like to see some blues people, hint, hint, take Hotel California and fix it.
No,
okay.
it's a good song. It's well done. I forced myself to listen, and we only say this because you hear it on every radio station across the country.
Seriously, if we're going to
so
have to listen
is.
to it for another 25 years,
We were in
do
Pennsylvania
something with it.
what a few months ago, and it's all cold and stormy, and I'm driving, and here comes Hotel California, and it's the only thing that will play, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit and listen to this, even though but I'm going to actually listen. And I was
Yeah.
like, it really is a badass. Well,
Oh no, it is
good
good.
I
song.
like the guitar solos on it. I like Joe
Totally.
Walsh playing. Yeah, you got the
Joe
contrast.
Walsh is
between the two
cool
guitars.
though. Come on,
Yeah.
he is.
Yeah.
Joe Walsh, come on.
Yeah.
He is
It's
the
true.
badass out of the group. Sorry, I know some of them are past, but Joe Walsh, come on. He's like
But I just think the song could have a little twist to it.
well,
Yeah.
Joe. I thought it was well done, but it's just annoying. But like to hear
because
it
that's all
over
we
and
hear
over.
on the
Well, yeah,
on
it's one
mainstream
of those
radio.
things like you hear something so much it kind of loses its
Yeah.
impact, and where if you kind of go back and listen to it with fresh ears, you're almost like, okay, I like
Yeah.
when this came out for the first time, it must have like
Yeah, it was way cool.
an
It
atomic
was
bomb for
way
people.
cool.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean,
But
you
now
get
it's
inundated with it, and it just becomes kind of
it's like a commercial.
yeah.
What
Because they
how do
play
you
it
feel
soft.
about what's going on in nowadays music? I mean, this last year, I mean, we're putting out this new magazine, like I was saying, you're going to be in there with you and Until the Sun, and it's this year of music, and we've had amazing people on our shows for this it's over a year, but from just an entire year, from February to February, we're looking at by the end of this February, this month of music, I mean, this year of music has been incredible. Yet like when you what is happening on mainstream, it's not, I don't know, there's a huge disconnect. I mean, I was even listening to NPR talk about their top 10 songs and albums, and I'm going, where's the blues, where's the roots music, where's like
Yeah.
where's that? So
It's-
how do you
it's-
feel as a musician about where we are in regards to like the blues, and I mean real rock, not you know what I mean? I want the grit out on the big four. I'm like knocking things down. I'm getting
Yeah,
upset.
it's
You know what
the
I mean?
marketing thing.
it's become a niche kind of thing
Yeah.
now. I mean, maybe it always was maybe it always just was in general. But I mean, it's never been the biggest form of music out there. Like even in the 40s, jazz kind of surpassed that, and in the 60s, rock surpassed blues, but it was always there. So I mean, it doesn't bother me that it's not the biggest music. I'm kind of, my disappointment with the modern take on music is it's so disposable. Seems like people have their heroes and they're reluctant to gravitate towards anyone new, even though it's great. They'll listen to it superficially and they'll be like, yeah, I like it, it's good, and then they'll toss that one. And
It's
it seems like people just have a very disposable mentality for music in general, not just in blues. And even amongst the younger generation, I think part of that, it's because people don't buy albums anymore. They just download songs.
do they actually listen? Like when I was growing up, my dad would finally let me handle the stereo and put an LP on with earphones and have friends over and actually listen together with a song.
Yeah.
Like you would sit cross-legged on the floor and listen.
I think musicians
Do we do that anymore?
I think musicians do. I think people who are musically minded do. I think most people usually they like to feel the beat and listen to things in passing. And I don't think there's the level of analysis for a lot of people, but I think for certain people there are, and it just kind of depends.
I think music lovers are music lovers, and we're diehard, like, and we know we could, it's like when Billy, said, hey, Brandon's got a new album. I'm like, I didn't even listen to it. I'm just like, bring him on, because I could hear like in Until the Sun, I was like, oh my God, what is he doing? This is cool. And then I was listening to the album like, holy crap, like, look what you've done. I mean this in a positive, and I get excited. I get excited about, Billy just send me more and more every single day because I love it, because I get excited about new music. And I know that it just seems like there is a I think we have a society of, it's that instant gratification and then toss it, like you're saying. We're kind of like the Big Mac drive-through. But I think COVID maybe changed us a bit. I think it has. And, I see music, I see people listening and reading and doing more of these things that we actually need for our soul in a far better way. I see it. And I think people really miss going out and hearing live music. And that also helps.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of like you had to take the puppy away for people to go back.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just the disposable nature of it all. Like they don't like buying albums as much. And I think that just kind of, it's not something that's theirs anymore. It's not something tangible. It's something that they just download and they'll listen to it superficially a few times. And even if they like it, they don't seem to, it doesn't stick the way where if you actually owned it, it would. So
like an art piece.
But do people actually listen on stereo still?
I think some people do. I think even in the younger crowd, I think like buying records and CDs is actually coming back.
CDs, I just saw this report on that today.
Cool.
Yeah.
CDs are coming back.
Yeah, it's in vogue again. And I think a lot of that's because they want something that's tangible that they could possess and they could own. And then I think when you do that, it's not as much of a superficial listening process either. I think you're actually kind of you're listening to every track and you're putting it on as a whole form of art.
Yeah, so.
I remember like CDs and vinyl, like the art would always be part of it. Like, the liner notes and who was on everything. It's like I started to learn who was who, because I'll tend to just listen to music and I don't know the name of the song. I don't know who, what, and where, and I'm just in it. And then I do like, well, you should learn who you're listening to, know.
Go find out.
But it was, having all the liner notes and sitting there and just really absorbing the music, and then find, oh look, I've got this person over here. It's like I think like Clapton's Crossroads, that big anthology thing that he did, really taught me a little bit of how many different people he played with and who, like all these people I knew about, but I didn't know, you know what I mean? Just, so I think it's important because on like, if you listen on Spotify, are you really getting everybody's names? Are you just streaming? And
I think a lot of times people just find the one song they want. They don't, maybe they'll even go through a couple seconds of each other song, but it's not the same.
Yeah, you don't get to hear new things. Like
there's no investment.
Old-time radio, they would announce, here's a new upcoming star. Kind of like, I'm really going back now, like Ed Sullivan's show used to say, you've never seen this before. Here's a new upcoming this, and it could be an acrobat or a singer or something. But you got to see something, and the way they did it back then was you guys are so lucky to see something new.
Yeah.
Now it's like, in a way, you almost feel like people are into, I want my same old, same old.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Or you're listening to
come
exactly
on.
what's in the top 40.
Yeah.
And then you're stuck in the top 40 thing. And that's a thing, like I was telling you about that NPR thing. I haven't a clue who they were talking about. I really don't. I don't know. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know. Because I'm so on the independent side that I don't know who they're talking about now. And then and I don't actually like it.
I
Sorry,
know.
I
And then when you listen to it, you're like,
don't
dude,
like
you
it.
got to come over our side, the
I know.
independence.
I'm sitting there going, I remember listening to this on this road trip through Tennessee and listening to each thing. And Nancy and I are looking at each other going, we have better musicians on our show,
Exactly.
you know, than an NPR does like Tiny
I'm
Desk,
telling you,
though.
it's about
would
the
be cool.
marketing.
Would you do Tiny Desk?
It is the marketing.
Would you go on Tiny Desk on NPR? Would you ever try out to do that?
Oh, I've never, I'm unfamiliar with it. So,
Oh, check it out. Go do
okay.
the YouTube of Tiny Desk. It's cool. I think
Okay.
you'd dig it. I think it'd be cool. I think it'd be
Okay.
really cool because they do have good, they do have good people on there. So I'm not ripping NPR whatsoever. But when they were talking about what was coming out, what happened this year, I was just like, no, I like our musicians on the show. I felt ownership. I'm like, we got good music and I really appreciate it. And thanks again for being back on the show. It's like
definitely
cool to reconnect
So
and
much fun.
come back with Until the Sun when you guys have your third album out.
Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah,
so that means third for you coming out right after that, right?
Yeah.
Cool.
just keep them busy. It's awesome though. iTunes is the best place for people to get the album.
Yeah, iTunes, Spotify, it's available on all those platforms, any of those platforms that people listen to. It's available on YouTube, even though there's no actual like music videos, you can still hear all the tracks on there.
Yeah.
Or if you want like a physical album, people are free to message me on Facebook and on my artist page, and we could send out actual physical albums too.
And the album title is Screaming into the Void. That sounds, I love that title. I love it. And I love the intro, the first track. I think that was like a good wake up, like, because you put so much in there too. It was like almost like, here it is. I'm giving you a taste of what's to come. That was like the perfect intro track. So what are we going to close with? Because like, I think we're going to have to do, because now I'm going to have to say it again, right? Hypnagogia.
Yeah, Hypnagogia.
Hypnagogia. But Tree of Life though, like,
I love Tree of Life.
I have to take that out. Okay, Hypnagogia. All right. I think one day we'll just have to do like a long form show where we can just play more than one song.
That'd be cool
for everybody. So Hypnagogia. That's it. It's my new word. I'll learn how to say
an
it.
afternoon of music and you pick an artist like what we have now and you play their whole album and you talk about each piece and it goes on for 2 hours.
Yeah,
awesome.
but I
would love that.
I don't want people, I've learned like doing all these music interviews and shows it's about the listener's take on the song.
Yeah.
I've learned, you can't, we have our thing that we really like, but a listener will hear something that they want. And it's, what does that mean? It's like, so it's cool to hear like where you go with it. Your take on it, but it's in the recording style. But I've also learned it's like music is a personal thing. It's like reading a book.
And even like the meaning behind songs, like sometimes I'll share like what the song's about. Like the other one Alyssa does on the album. That one I wrote the day my daughter was born. So but I mean there's a lot of times it's like people could kind of appoint their own meaning to a song.
Of course.
It might mean more to them just doing it that way. And sometimes it's kind of better off that way.
Yeah.
When you give people a coloring book, whether they're children or adults, some people struggle to stay within the lines, but will stay within the lines, and other ones don't care about the lines and they purposely cross them. Yeah. And so that's people. They do what they do, they hear what they hear. And everybody's going to listen to a song and hear something different.
I remember it being in a poetry class, and we
Mm.
had I can't remember, I think it was an Edith Wharton piece, and we had to say what the meaning was. So I wrote this whole paper on this poem, and the teacher said, "That's not what it's about." And I said, "I beg your pardon?" And he's like, "That's not what it's about." I'm like, "Well, I just gave you this whole reason why this is what it's about." And to me,
Yeah.
there's no reason why
That's what it was about to you.
And then I left the school. This is why I went to 15, 16 schools.
Oh,
But anyway,
gosh.
obviously not good at it. But
I
listen,
have to say,
Brandon,
Lisa going through school was a challenge.
I know, but but don't tell me that that's not what the poem means. Like, I don't, who? Like, don't,
Well, your teacher
know what I
was
mean?
wrong.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he was right,
No, she
but
was wrong.
Well, I
No.
mean, and even if the public image that the author of a poem that he may say it's about this, he may have really, it may
His
have
own
been
thing.
something else about that's much deeper that he would have been embarrassed to talk about. It could have been about something that he didn't want people to know about, and so
it.
I mean, the Beatles did that a lot with their songs, like,
Mhm.
"Oh, is this about drugs?" And they're like, "No, it's not at all." And then like 20 years later,
Well,
they're like,
maybe.
"Yeah, it's about
Yeah.
drugs."
Yeah. Oh,
No,
but
but-
listen, Brown Sugar's
but-
getting taken. What they're taking off,
but
Rolling Stones taking Brown Sugar off of their
as-
album. I was like, that was one of my favorite songs, and I'm like,
But as an
Sticky Fingers
artist,
is one of
whether
my favorite
you're
albums.
whether you're painting or you're a musician, as an artist, don't you want each person to make it personal to them, to be
Yeah.
invested in what you've just created, for them to identify from their standpoint, because that's the only standpoint they really have, it's theirs. So they invest in a piece of art, a piece of music, whatever it is, from their standpoint. And that's the unifying thing about art. Like a piece of art, a piece of music will unite people, even though they have a different stance on it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, here it is, everybody. Let's go have some
Mm.
dream time. Hypnagogia, Gogia. Hypnagogia. I want to go agog. I'm a gog at this. Hypnagogia. Go again. This is the song we're going to play now, but the album again, Go Get It by Brandon-Teskey. It is Screaming into the Void. I know. I have a whole other thing on that, but anyway, everywhere, iTunes. Is it on Bandcamp?
I don't think it is.
Well, if you put it on Bandcamp, you'll get paid.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, go there.
Yeah.
But anyway, thanks again for joining us, and you take care, okay?
All right. Thank you for having me.
Hey, it's good to
Thanks.
see you again.
Yep. Good talking to you guys.
Mm.